Hi everyone, yes, so welcome back. I am just excited to close this season, and I'm just going to share that with us closing today with how to keep our seats. I want to just emphasize on our type of ways that what I have been educated on to how to keep your seat. Your different type of ways to keep your seat in this era and in this generation. I have learned that there's different things that affects us in every season. And therefore, with every season, you have to understand and to know your season. And you have to know that there's going to be your environmental challenges. There's going to be your physical challenges. There's going to be your mental challenges. There's going to be your emotional challenges. And with all the challenges that there is, you need to know how to effectively keep your seat, how to effectively be able to keep control with what you are being challenged with. And therefore, your method in keeping control is to always know that no matter your challenge, that the stronger approach would not necessarily be to go and fight back with aggression. Your stronger approach would not necessarily be to go and fight back with anger. Your stronger approach would not necessarily be to go and physically fight back, but you need to learn to, in yourself mentally, you need to learn to be able to keep control of that anger in order to know that you keep control of your situation, in order to understand that keeping your seat is you honestly and in this season allowing yourself to be protected. Because I have mentioned, and I'm going to mention this just now, that you being protected is something that always happens. So protection is always there for humanity. Our Creator protects us on a daily basis with everything and everywhere that we are. But in order for us to understand that our approach with being protected means that you have to allow yourself to know that you are protected. Because remember that protection are there. But if you don't recognize and if you don't accept protection, then you reject it off. And then you find yourself sometimes in danger. You find yourself sometimes in challenges. You find yourself sometimes mentally challenged because you don't allow yourself in order to understand that there's always protection. But protection requires you to take that step back and to say that, you know what, I'm not going to fight this battle myself, because I'm not required to explain who I am and who have created me, because our Creator explains himself. And he needs us to understand and to know as a generation that we need to know that creation is not only humanity. Creation is the presence and the power and the strength of our existence and the strength of where we exist from. And we cannot go and want to explain who we have not created. When humanity came here, there was creation. And when there was creation, humanity needs to learn that they are a part of creation. They are not there to go and explain creation. They are not there to go and create. They are not there to go and react and to go and say that now we have that. Now we have seen earth, now we take advantage of the situation. But what we are being told as generations is that when a generation finds themselves at war, they find themselves at war with themselves, because your Creator does not need to explain himself to you. He has brought you here, and the only step you can do as a human being is to take a step back so that existence can protect you. Because yes, the protection is there, but humanity needs to know that they are part of existence. They are not the Creator. They can't go and want to explain and go and want to fight every battle, because you live from existence. You are existing from existence. And in order to keep your seat, you need to understand and you need to submit and you need to take a step back and to say that, is this necessary for me to go and explain myself? That what am I being educated concerning this challenge? What is this challenge teaching me concerning myself and concerning me being a human being and me being born unto earth? And therefore, so that humanity and so that people don't find themselves in generations of battles, in generations of war, in generations of wanting to fight back, because we do not have to fight back what we have not brought into existence. Sometimes you have to take a step back and ask yourself, who is it that I'm fighting against? What is the strength of that person going to be when I go and react unto that situation? And sometimes you have to allow yourself to know a situation before you go and react. And that is the season of 2022 and how we keep our seats. We don't go and stir on in meetings. We don't go and make treaties when we know we are leading countries. We don't know it, go and talk behind people's backs. We see a situation in danger. You see a people in danger. You react with wisdom. You know how to hold your meetings. You know how to invite both parties into the room. You know how to let both parties know that we have this meeting and we are discussing a situation concerning humanity. And as human beings, we need to sit around one table, not with me, the manager, having a treaty with the one employee and then the other employee in the office feel abused. Because I remember the moment that I was abused and feeling abused in my office, I resigned, because no human being wants to be humiliated. No human being wants to be told that you are not right to be there. No human beings want other human beings to talk behind their backs and to plan things behind their backs, no matter how the situation might seem, no matter how the situation might seem with us around the table. But we need to have that leader that keeps the control and that has got that wisdom, to say that if we see a war starting, if we see trouble, how are we going to handle the situation in a better way? How are we going to invite both parties in the room, even if it's challenging? Sometimes you take that step back and sometimes you tell yourself that, you know what, it's not about keeping a building, it's not about keeping a house, but it's about protecting humanity. It's about protecting one another. And sometimes we have to go to the uttermost to protect one another, to the uttermost to say that even if I'm humiliated, even if I don't understand why someone else wants to take over my household, I'm going to say, you know what, if you want to come and stay here for some time. Let us try and work around the situation, rather than wanting to say, I will hold on to this house and I will fight for this house and I will keep this house when I see my children in danger. We need to know that when we make decisions concerning one another, concerning that people have a difference, concerning putting all those differences aside, we do it in a way that is respectful. We do it in a way that is protective towards the other, so that no one in that room when we have meetings feel humiliated and abused. Because yes, there's stories that we sometimes go through that has started many years ago, but now you in 2022, not to be in those years anymore. And if you see someone around the table and they feel that the manager is not treating them well, you include that person. You try and find a way to work around it. You don't hold on to a premises just to show that you are a man and that you can stand your test. But you need to say that, you know what, when one man in a room humiliates another man, and there's sometimes women in that room, how humiliating is it to know that you have been born on earth sometimes to be a man, and then there's humiliation, there's abuse. You don't stir anger. We don't stir anger when we see a situation out of control. We don't sit around in meetings and plan things against one another. When we see there's people that needs to be protected, humanity in this season needs to know that our leaders can protect us, that our leaders can stand their ground, that our leaders knows how to keep a seat, not only for themselves, but for every one of us, that our leaders knows that my story is not only my story is not only my household story, my story is not only my family story, but we're talking about children, we're talking about people, things that could have been prevented if we have reacted in a respectful, protective way. And therefore, when we sometimes are being challenged, it's not about you having to stand up and fight back, but it's about that leader in the room that says, how can we handle this in a better way? How can we allow this? And then sometime later we can go back and sort it out. Sometimes we have to take that step back and say that let us protect this country, in order to take that step back and say, if this man wants to take a seat there, let him for some time take a seat so that we can get control over the situation. Let him for some time take that seat in that country. And then after some time, we learn to know how to deal with the situation rather than making and stirring and you see someone in danger. We don't do that. We don't lead like that. We lead in a way that we protect one another. And that is where we are at in this season, because we get our different ways of keeping our seeds. But with everything, there's nothing that we can control. You can't control a building. You can't control a land that you have not brought into existence. There's so many places on this earth. There's so many ways that we can make things work in order to protect one another. But let us know when to react. Let us know how we react when we leaders and we in meetings and there's people sitting in your meeting and they feel humiliated. Let us know how to protect one another in those meetings. Let us know how to not go and make treaties behind someone else. And let us not to go and make plans when we know we see a dangerous situation, when we know we see people in danger, when we know we see them being there and being humiliated and abused. And you know there's so much challenges in this world. And in order to have a man sit in a room and be humiliated and abused and continuously needs to hear that even if he's angry, even if there's things that happened years ago, there could have been ways of prevention. There could have been ways of preventing making the whole world chaotic. There could have been ways that people said, let us sit back. Let us allow to understand and to walk out of that season of challenge. Let us allow one another that place around this table. Let us allow one another that place on the seat. Let us know that we are men, and no man on this earth wants to sit in a room around other men and be humiliated. And therefore, when we find ourselves in this time challenged, let us know why we are challenged. Let us sometimes take that step back approach and say, let us deal with situations better rather than making it worse than it was. And therefore, our step back approach in this season is to know what family is, to know that if you have a family, if I have my brother in the house, and my brother is jealous of my other brother, and we know we have grown up in the same house and the same land. But if my brother disappoints me, when I get into a meeting and my brother disappoints me, you know my expectation of a sister when I was as a brother and we are family, and now my brother disappoints me, you know the disappointment that it brings upon another human being. That no matter if you are blood or non-blood, no matter if you are family by natural or family just by being there in one community, but the fact remains is that we are brothers and sisters, being born unto earth as brothers and sisters. And if one brother disappoints another brother, and he sees that brother sometimes as family, even though sometimes he doesn't have to say it with much words. Do you know the humiliation when two brothers are in one family and the one disappoints the other? You know the jealousy, the influences and all of those things can have an effect. And when someone is disappointed, when they had high expectations of someone, and that person that they thought are there to be there for them disappoints them, it brings you to a low that you cannot control. And sometimes we need to know that we don't have to say you are my brother, but we need to know how we protect and how we control where we are at in this season. And therefore, when we step forward better, let us allow ourselves our steps. Let us allow ourselves our seasons to stand our ground, to sit in our seats, and to know that sometimes people who sit in their seats, they react and know exactly where they react from. But we don't need to go and humiliate and abuse them. But we need to handle the situation in a way that is going to bring the anger down and going to say that a man is talking to a man. And therefore this world are looking upon two men that are talking and two men that can make a difference. And the only way that they can make a difference is to not go and humiliate and stir anger, but for the world to take a step back and to say, let us take control of where we are at, and to know that our families are not only our families of natural descent, but sometimes we have to see people that when we see them, we have to know that this is my family, and they don't sometimes have to say it in words. And let us not as men humiliate one another, because women are looking in upon that, and women starts to humiliate and abuse, and women starts to humiliate their husbands in their households. And then we see ourselves as a generation that does not have control, because we can't keep control, because what we see on television is what we educate in our households, in our communities. in our families. So let's not make the situation worse, but let's take a step back as a generation and know how to be free and know how to keep our seats, because we are ready to know and to know where we are prospering from ready to know that when you prosper, you have to take a step back in order to be where you are required to be. So in this season, let us know where we are prospering from, so that we don't have to give up our seats and one has to say, but you've got much more than I have and I need that. But then we all know that it's for all of us, and we all have to find a way to know, why is it that I'm not receiving right? Why is it that I'm not knowing how to handle the situation right? We need to know where we are receiving from, where we are prospering from. You're not prospering from moving forward. You're prospering from taking a step and to therefore allow yourself to prosper. And therefore we need to know that our mere reason for existence is to allow our Creator to in every season prosper us. We don't go and climb that ladder in life, but we allow ourselves to be prospered. We allow ourselves to be where we are required to be, because it is for all of us. It is meant for all of us. Our protection is to allow the strength that has created us to protect us. And therefore, with everything happening around us during this season, let us know that we need to know our strength of existence, that we're not existing from human strength and from fighting a battle with a fist, but to allow your exister to keep control and to allow you to take control of your situation and to keep control of where you are at and where you need to be as a generation of 2022. That is it for this season. I know that I have a lot to say, but we need to know what it means to be created as human beings on this earth. We need to know that our exister does not need us to go and fight his battles for him. He does not need us to go and take the first and to go and fight. He needs us to take that step in order to know how to handle a situation. And therefore, we are ready to say that as a generation, we put all of this black and white and all of these funninesses aside, and we allow ourselves to sometimes take a step back, to sometimes not argue back, but to sometimes allow yourself to know what it means to keep your seat. Therefore, in this season, let us be there for one another. Let us respect one another. Let us care and have empathy, not only for ourselves, for where we are on earth and for what we have been blessed with as human beings. And therefore, let us continue to be appreciative with everything that we do. Have a great, great day further.